On a rainy Seattle morning, Maggie Sullivan paid a stranger's bus fare, a quiet act of kindness she thought forgotten. A decade later, as wedding bells rang, a Coast Guard officer in dress white stepped forward to offer his arm, carrying a debt only he remembered, one that would bind them as family. In Seattle's Pike Place Market District, a crowded bus stop buzzed with umbrellas and impatience on a gray February morning in 2015. Margaret Maggie Sullivan, 58, a librarian with silver-streaked auburn hair tucked under a knit cap, clutched her tote bag filled with library books and groceries. Her worn raincoat dripped as she waited for the Route 12 bus to her Capitol Hill apartment. The driver, Harold Grayson, a gruff man in his late 60s, barked from the driver's seat, "No fare, no ride. Keep it moving." A teenage boy, lanky with damp black hair and a faded hoodie, stood at the fare box, fumbling through empty pockets. "I had it, I swear," he mumbled, voice cracking. "Must have lost it." Passengers groaned, their murmurs sharp. "Always an excuse," one muttered. "Kick him off, we're late," another snapped. Maggie near the front saw the boy's face flush, his shoulders hunching under the weight of their judgment. His eyes held not defiance but desperation, a look Maggie recognized from her years helping teens at the library. She stepped forward, her voice calm. "For both of us," she said, dropping $2.50 into the fare box. Grayson grunted, taking the coins. "Lucky kid," he shot at the boy who mumbled, "Thanks, ma'am," eyes fixed on his scuffed sneakers. The boy shuffled to the back, avoiding stares. Maggie settled into a seat, her tote at her feet, and caught his eye briefly, offering a gentle smile. Passengers shot her disapproving glances as if her kindness enabled delinquency. At her stop, Maggie gathered her bag and stepped into the rain, not looking back. The boy stayed seated, watching her fade into the drizzle. She thought nothing of it. A small gesture, like leaving extra tip for a barista. But it warmed her, against the chill. Maggie lived simply, a widow since her husband Patrick died of cancer in 2010. Her son Nathan lived in Denver with his wife and newborn, their visits rare. Maggie filled her days at the Capitol Hill Library, helping teens with homework, recommending books and slipping snacks to kids who looked hungry. She left anonymous gift cards at the community center and shoveled snow for her elderly neighbor, Mrs. Clara Nguyen. The boy was Caleb Ruiz, 16, raised by his grandmother Rosa after his parents' car accident when he was 8. That morning he'd been heading to a dishwashing job interview, desperate to ease Rosa's medical bills. Maggie's act, quiet and unassuming, was the first time a stranger had helped without making him feel small. Caleb kept Maggie's kindness in his heart, a beacon through tough years. Bullied for his thrift store clothes, he graduated high school, inspired by her dignity. Kindness isn't weakness, he told himself. After graduation, he joined the Coast Guard, sending money home to Rosa. Maggie, unaware, continued her routine, a minor hip injury slowing her but not her generosity. She never imagined her $2.50 had sparked a life's trajectory, or that Caleb, now searching for her, would repay her in a way she'd never expect. Caleb's life after that rainy morning was shaped by Maggie's gesture. At 16, he landed the dishwashing job, his interview secured by the bus ride Maggie funded. He worked nights, studied hard, and avoided trouble, though classmates mocked his patched jeans. Rosa, his grandmother, noticed a shift. "You're carrying something good," she said, her arthritis slowing her but not her insight. Caleb told her about the woman on the bus, how she'd paid without fanfare. "She didn't even ask my name," he said, awed. Rosa nodded. "That's real kindness." Caleb enlisted in the Coast Guard at 18, drawn to its mission of service. Basic training tested him, but Maggie's quiet strength echoed in his resolve. Stationed in Alaska, he sent most of his paycheck to Rosa, who framed his recruit photo. During deployments, Caleb shared Maggie's story with bunkmates, the bus ticket, now laminated in his wallet, a talisman. "She saw me when I was nothing," he'd say. He tried finding her, asking Seattle bus drivers and librarians, but Maggie was too common, and he had no last name. Maggie, now 60, faced her own challenges. Her hip injury, from a fall at the library, left a slight limp. Her pension, barely, covered rent. And Nathan's calls grew sporadic, his life consumed by work and fatherhood. Maggie leaned on friends like Clara and Nguyen, who shared tea and stories, and her co-worker, Ellen Diaz, a vibrant young librarian who pushed Maggie to try online dating. "You're not done living," Ellen teased. Maggie laughed, skeptical but open, her kindness undimmed. She bought books for struggling families, helped teens with college essays, and left cookies at the fire station, small acts that defined her. By 2020, Caleb, 21, earned a promotion to petty officer, his leadership shining in search and rescue missions. He organized food drives on base, inspired by Maggie's example. Rosa's health declined, her heart condition worsening, and Caleb's visits home were bittersweet. He kept searching for Maggie, checking Seattle library staff lists, but leads fizzled. "She's out there," he told Rosa, who smiled. "You'll find her when it's time." Maggie's life brightened when she met Tom Brennan, a retired mechanic and widower, at a library book club in 2021. Their bond grew over shared grief and love of history novels, a slow romance rooted in companionship. By 2024, now 66, Maggie agreed to marry Tom, a modest wedding planned at St. Anne's Church. Nathan couldn't attend, tied up with his toddler's medical needs, leaving Maggie without family for the aisle. She accepted it, her heart full with Tom and friends like Ellen and Clara. Unbeknownst to her, Caleb's search was nearing its end, a chance encounter about to bridge a decade's gap. In January 2025, Caleb, now 26 and a chief petty officer, returned to Seattle on leave. At a Capitol Hill diner, he overheard the owner, Mr. Rossi, chatting with a customer. "Maggie Sullivan's getting married at St. Anne's. Sweet lady, always helping folks." A waitress added, "Shame she's walking alone. After all she's done." Caleb's pulse quickened. Could it be her? He asked Mr. Rossi. "Maggie the librarian?" Rossi nodded. "Yeah, works at Capitol Hill. Real saint." Caleb's heart raced. He'd found her. St. Anne's Church, a quaint stone building, glowed with candlelight and donated lilies on Maggie's wedding day. 30 guests filled the pews, a mix of neighbors, library patrons, and Tom's bowling buddies. Maggie, in a simple ivory dress, adjusted her veil in a side room, her limp barely noticeable. Ellen, helping with her hair, asked, "You sure about walking alone?" Maggie smiled, a flicker of sadness in her eyes. "I've managed alone before. Today's no different." Through the walls she heard whispers. "No family for Maggie, after all she's given?" As the organ played the wedding march, Maggie took a deep breath and stepped toward the aisle. The chapel doors swung open, revealing a Coast Guard officer in dress whites, gold braid gleaming, cap under his arm. Guests turned, murmuring. Caleb Ruiz walked forward, stopping before Maggie, who froze, confused. He pulled a laminated bus ticket from his pocket, its edges worn. "10 years ago, you paid my fare when no one else cared," he said, voice steady but eyes shining. "I never forgot." Maggie's hand covered her mouth. "The boy from the bus?" Caleb nodded, standing tall. "Chief Petty Officer Caleb Ruiz. I've been looking for you, ma'am." Maggie's eyes welled. "How did you?" Caleb smiled. "Tried for years. Heard about your wedding at the diner. You didn't just buy a ticket, you gave me a chance." Guests dabbed their eyes, sensing something profound. Caleb offered his arm. "Will you let me walk you down the aisle? I owe you more than I can repay." Maggie's trembling hand took his arm, her smile breaking through tears. "The honor's mine, Caleb." As they stepped forward, Caleb whispered, "You never walked away from me. Today, I'm here for you." The chapel held its breath. The moment electric. Tom at the altar wiped his eyes, moved by the stranger's gesture. The minister, voice thick, said, "Sometimes kindness creates family where none existed." Maggie and Caleb walked the aisle, her slight limp steadied by his arm, the bus ticket in his pocket a silent bond. Guests whispered, some crying, others awestruck. Ellen in the front pew clutched Clara's hand, both moved by Maggie's quiet impact. At the altar, Caleb stepped back, saluting Tom, who shook his hand warmly. The ceremony was simple. Maggie and Tom's vows heartfelt. Rooted in second chances, the minister's words lingered. A single act can ripple across years, binding us in love. At the reception, held at the community center, Caleb presented Maggie with a Coast Guard challenge coin. "For uncommon valor," he said, pressing it into her palm. "Your kindness was braver than you know." Maggie, tears falling, hugged him. "You've repaid it 1,000 times." Harold Grayson, the retired bus driver, attended, invited by Clara. His usual scowl softened. "Drove that route 35 years, he told Ellen. "Never thought a kid like that'd turn out like this." Caleb shared his story with guests, the ticket a prop. "Maggie didn't just save my day, she showed me people can care." Maggie, blushing, waved it off. "It was nothing." Caleb shook his head. "It was everything." They exchanged contact info, no longer strangers. Tom embraced Caleb, saying, "You gave Maggie the walk she deserved. You're family now." Caleb, choked up, nodded. The wedding photographer, touched, posted a photo online. Caleb in dress whites, Maggie beaming, the ticket visible. Captioned, "Kindness comes full circle." It went viral, shared millions of times. Local news covered it, then national outlets. Caleb spoke at schools, holding up the ticket. "This is proof small moments matter." Maggie received letters from former patrons, teens she'd helped, and strangers inspired to pay it forward. The Seattle Metro Transit launched Ride It Forward Days, encouraging fare sharing, with Maggie and Caleb as ambassadors. Maggie kept the coin by her bedside, a reminder of kindness's reach. Caleb sent the photo to Rosa, writing, "The world's round, abuela. Good comes back." Maggie, reflecting, told Tom, "I didn't do it for thanks, but it found me anyway." Their story, born of 250, showed that family isn't always blood. It's the bonds we choose. Over the next year, Maggie and Caleb's story reshaped their lives in Seattle's community. The viral photo sparked a movement, with Ride It Forward Days drawing crowds. Maggie, now 67, and Caleb, 27, attended the first event, handing out free fare cards. Strangers shared stories of small kindnesses inspired by Maggie's act. Ellen, now library manager, started a kindness corner at the library, where patrons left notes of gratitude. "You taught us this, Maggie," she said. Maggie smiled, humbled. Caleb, stationed in San Diego, visited Seattle often, treating Maggie and Tom to dinner. Rosa, frail but proud, joined once, hugging Maggie. "You saved my boy," she whispered. Caleb earned a commendation for community outreach, his talks at schools expanding to youth centers. He told kids, "One person's belief in you can change everything." His wallet still held the ticket, a touchstone. Maggie's life bloomed. Tom's steady love grounded her, and her limp eased with physical therapy. Nathan visited with his toddler, meeting Caleb, who played uncle with ease. Maggie's library work thrived. She mentored teens, her kindness now celebrated. Clara organized a community fund in Maggie's name, helping with transport costs. "No one rides alone," Clara said, echoing Maggie's ethos. The story's reach grew. A documentary crew filmed Maggie and Caleb, their interviews heartfelt. Maggie said, "Kindness doesn't need a reason." Caleb added, "It's the choice to see someone." Harold Grayson, now volunteering at a job training program, admitted, "I judged too quick. Maggie showed me better." The film, A Ticket to Tomorrow, premiered at a Seattle festival, earning applause. Maggie reflected on her journey, widowhood, loneliness, now love and legacy. Her small act had built a family with Caleb, Tom, and her community. She wrote Nathan, urging him to teach his son kindness. "It's never too small," she wrote. Caleb, visiting Rosa's grave after her passing, left a fare token, whispering, "Maggie's lesson lives on." By 2026, Maggie and Caleb's bond was unbreakable, a chosen family forged by kindness. Maggie, 68, and Tom hosted Caleb for holidays, their Capitol Hill apartment filled with laughter. Caleb, now 28, proposed to his girlfriend Lena, a nurse at St. Anne's. Maggie and Tom in the front pew. "You're my family," Caleb told Maggie, who cried, honored. The Ride It Forward program became a Seattle staple, with other cities adopting it. Maggie and Caleb spoke at a national transit conference, their story inspiring policy changes. Maggie, once quiet, found her voice advocating for community support. Caleb, promoted to senior chief, led Coast Guard outreach, dedicating it to Maggie. "She's why I serve," he said. Ellen's Kindness Corner grew, with libraries nationwide copying it. Maggie received a city award, her speech simple: "Kindness is free. Give it away." Caleb, beside her, held the ticket, now framed at the library. Harold, now a mentor, trained teens, his gruffness replaced by purpose. "Maggie changed me too," he admitted. Maggie visited Patrick's grave, placing a fair token. "You'd love Caleb," she whispered. Her life, once solitary, was full. Tom's love, Caleb's loyalty, Nathan's renewed closeness. The documentary aired on PBS, inspiring millions. Letters poured in, from kids Maggie taught to strangers touched by her story. One read, "You made me help a stranger. Thank you." At a family dinner, Maggie, Tom, Caleb, Lena, Nathan, and his son shared stories. Caleb raised a glass. "To Maggie, who showed me family isn't just blood." Maggie, tearful, toasted, "To all of you, my home." The ticket, now a symbol, sat on her mantle, proof that kindness, given freely, always returns, building bonds stronger than time. If A Ticket to Tomorrow warmed your heart, hit subscribe and join our community of kindness. Share this story with someone who's touched your life. Like, comment, whose kindness changed you. Your support keeps these stories alive. Thanks for watching. You make calm.